Otherwise, the rat chase is on, and Portugal and US on that aspect, they're on the same level. People have there still, they still have to work a lot to make men's meat and to put the food on the table and to.
Thinking about moving to Portugal? Or maybe you're just curious about how life in the US compares to Europe? Today, we're talking to Filipe, a Portuguese expat who has lived in the US for 18 years, and he's revealing the biggest differences between these two countries, from culture shocks to daily life, work, and even food. Stay until the end to hear whether he regrets moving or if he'd do it all over again.
Hi, my name is Filipe, and I was born in Paris, but my parents are Portuguese, so I moved to Lisbon while I was very young yet. And pretty much I did my entire life in the city of the Seven Hills. And then I moved to the United States 18 years ago. So I'm going to compare the life between the United States and Portugal.
Thanks for the introduction, Filipe. It's always fascinating to hear firsthand experiences from someone who has lived in both countries. Now, before we get into the biggest cultural shocks between Portugal and the US, let me ask you this. What's the one thing most expats completely forget about when they move abroad? It's not the paperwork, it's not learning the language, it's health insurance. And that's why today's video is sponsored by SafetyWing. If you're planning to move abroad, visit Portugal, or any other country, having the right health coverage is a must. SafetyWing provides flexible and affordable travel medical insurance designed specifically for expats, digital nomads, and long-term travelers, so you can explore the world without worrying about unexpected travel and medical costs. Check the link in the description and get your peace of mind for just a few dollars a day, even if you've already left your country. Now, let's dive into the biggest Portugal versus USA differences. What was the hardest part about adapting to life in the US as a Portuguese person?
I think that's a problem for everyone who moves from where they were born or where they grew up to anywhere else in the world. So it's not just an issue between Portugal and US, it's an issue for any immigrant. But in my case, and specifically regarding this question, I would say, of course, leaving behind everything, leaving behind your family, your friends, things that you enjoy, things that you care for. And that's hard. But again, it's hard for anyone that moves away from their where they have their own nest. So, and have to build a new nest. In this case, I would say, yeah, family and friends. But the good thing is technology helped kind of soften that part. So you are able to be connected with anyone and anywhere at any time now. So it makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, I think that's going to be my answer.
How does the pace of life in Portugal compare to the US?
I think probably right now they're on the same level, but still different, of course. We're talking about a country that is a Latin country. So that means enjoying more small things like going to the coffee shop, going for big lunches during the work days, having a slower pace for the daily life on some aspect, but otherwise the rat chase is on, and Portugal and US on that aspect, they're on the same level. People have there still, they still have to work a lot to be able to make men's meat and to put the food on the table and to give a proper education to their kids. And so there's a lot of things different because of the origins of the countries. They're completely different, but still the pace is very, very, I think, very similar.
What's something that Portugal does better than the US in terms of daily life?
Again, I think that is the biggest difference is the time that you dedicate to your family and friends, even on a regular basis. And by that, I mean Monday to Friday. People still take long lunches. And I mean by long lunches during the workday, and they still do a lot of late dinners. So the life after work doesn't end right away with dinner and sitting the beauty in front of the TV. No, dinner could be 7, 8, 9 p.m. and the night goes on for a little bit longer than the United States, where by 7 p.m., 8ish, everything is pretty much shut down, or people are in their houses and just sitting in front of the TV or so yeah, that will be the biggest difference is the time that you dedicate still to your family and friends on the regular basis.
Is there a strong Portuguese expat community in the US? How do people stay connected to their culture?
There are, but not here where I am in Wisconsin. I'm pretty much the only Portuguese in a radius of many miles, or let's put it in kilometers, hundreds of kilometers. Probably there are not there is no Portuguese community around here in the Midwest that I know, and I've been here for quite some time. But yes, on the East Coast, there are big kind of communities, especially in the East Coast, Boston, New York, Newark, all that up and down that area, especially coming from the Azores Island. And they are very strong and very kind of a integrated community. They have their own already people elected as congressmen and all for the local government issues, or not issues, but part of the government. So they're pretty integrated and they have a really, really presence on that area of the country, but not here. So I cannot talk about my experience here because there is none. But I know for a fact that on the East Coast, there is a big community and they have their own festivals. They do their own parties and they kind of are very proud of their traditions.
What's the biggest difference in work culture between the US and Portugal?
It's probably the more relaxed aspect of the Portuguese. Let's break that down. I would say the Portuguese are a little bit more like when you go to an island, it's island time. Well, there's Portugal time. So things move in a different pace. I think that's the right word, the pace. So slower. So you better adjust if you move to Portugal because it's not going to be type of thing that everything is going to be right there, ready for you in the next hour or day. They might think a few more days or weeks. But otherwise, they're catching up. Unfortunately, maybe the pace is getting more elevated, and unfortunately, that rat chase is kind of a global thing, not just for the U.S., where people work a lot. They have less vacation time, and the Portuguese have a lot of vacation, a lot of holidays, and that makes a big difference where you spend that time with and doing things with the family and friends.
Do you think the U.S. is a better place for career opportunities than Portugal?
Can you compare a mouse to an elephant? Probably, well, no. So it's a gigantic mammal. The other one is not as big as at all compared to an elephant. So you cannot compare the two of them. They still have their own things. They have their own skills, but Portugal is tiny, and being a tiny country, they were able to accomplish a lot, especially back in the day when they were pioneering and discovering the entire new worlds and frontiers with their sailors and going all over the place and having the biggest advantage with technology and nautic, finding out where to go, how to coordinate with the stars. And so they were pretty out there, but they're tiny. Again, it's like comparing an elephant to a mouse. You can't. The U.S. is gigantic. It's massive. The population in Portugal is not even close to New York, and the area, it's probably half of the size of Wisconsin. So they can have biggest disadvantages because the opportunities are not there. Same thing. The same problem is with the United States. People don't stay where they were born. Majority of people, they move around. And same thing happened with the Portuguese. A lot of Portuguese, they move around. And by then, I mean, they move to different countries, especially in Europe, at France, especially France, England, and to the United States. So there's a lot of immigration because the opportunities are not there. It's a small country, small economy. Now it's getting bigger, but it's all related to tourism. So there are a lot of difference.
What's something that American people find weird about Portuguese culture?
The long meals. Yeah, that's going to be the biggest. I kind of comes up in my mind right away. It's you might have a lunch, especially a dinner, that might take 4 hours, maybe more. That's nothing that happens in the US regularly. People go to a dinner and they're in and out probably in 45 minutes, sometimes less. That's massive difference of spending time, quality time all around the table, enjoying food, delicious food, especially if you are a fan of seafood in Portugal. But the quality time that I was talking about is the time that you spend talking with your friends and family about everything that happens around the table. And so I will probably say that's my number one big difference.
Have you picked up any American habits that you never had in Portugal?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I never thought that I would be using guns for fun. Yeah, that's a different cultural aspect. In a safe way, in a very knowing what you're doing, so you don't hurt anyone or hurt yourself. So yeah, guns. It's a big thing around here, and you have to know what you're doing. So, but otherwise, that was one of the biggest difference. Plus the fact that people like to shop a lot here online. You pretty much don't go to the mall anymore. The malls are going extinct around here. But guns and the outdoors, exploring, hiking, that's huge around the United States. Well, there landscape is beautiful, especially if you like to do long hikes and enjoying the nature of this beautiful country. That they have a beautiful geography, especially if you go to the national parks. So that's a big difference. Portugal, like I said, it's tiny compared to the U.S. Still have a lot of things to do, but they're finally now discovering all about hiking and enjoying being in the middle of the nature and. But it's a new thing in the United States. It's pretty hiking is kind of a part of the fabric of the society where people definitely go for hikes on a regular basis.
What's something about American culture that you actually prefer over Portugal?
Efficiency. Not always good, but it's convenient, especially if you need something instantly or at least faster. Amazon Prime and all the other Ubers of the world makes things easier, but that's also catching up in Portugal. So they're not far behind. It's just a matter of, again, comparing a mouse to an elephant. One is a gigantic economy that then definitely develop and invest in being more efficient for all the reasons that you have to be for that fact. And the other one, it's a mouse that is trying to adapt to the to the standards and to the speed that the world is evolving and moving forward.
How does the weather actually affect your mood and daily life compared to Portugal?
Well, living in the Midwest and in Wisconsin, we have very, 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 very long winters, or at least we used to have. Things are changing. I don't know why, but I do know. But let's not talk about politics. Well, so yes, the four seasons are very, very established. Spring is beautiful. Summer is hot, and a lot of times is also kind of wet with a lot of humidity. But they're short because then comes the fall, where is also pretty. It's one of my wife's favorite seasons. It's the fall, where hiking is kind of because you have to enjoy the beautiful landscape with all the flowers. I mean, not the flowers, but the plants, not the plants, the trees, and all the leaves colors changing. So that's kind of a pretty cool thing. It's very unique. So that's huge. But then you have the winter where you have to definitely adapt. I have good friends. They say there's no bad weather, just bad clothing. So you better be prepared and be prepared also for being on the outdoors when it's 20, 20 below and it's cold. So you're not going to stay home all the time. Otherwise, you're going to get depressed. So you better enjoy the outdoors and put yourself at enjoying the elements of cold weather, snow, go for skiing with a family, go sled, do some hot tubbing, do some snow angels. So all that is kind of a unique aspect that I didn't grow up with. And I grew up with going to the beach in January. Here in January, I go not swim, but do some snow angels in some white powder. So, and go ski with the family on Friday nights. So that's huge, or that's a big difference, I would say.
What's the biggest difference in food culture between the US and Portugal?
If you've ever been to Portugal, you probably know I'm going to talk about what? Seafood, right? Fresh ingredients, farm to table, or in this case, from the fisherman to your plate. That's pretty big, especially if you live in the Midwest where things are a little bit more far away. I mean, by that, I mean the fish that comes here, it's from the lake. It's great too, but it's not the same as the ocean. Or if you wanted something from the ocean, you have to go to a local market and you know it's going to be a few days old coming from other parts of the world. But again, that's going to be the biggest difference is the fact that things here are, you have to adapt more on the meat aspect. Portugal, it's more on the fish aspect, more seafood, more fresh vegetable, not so much a lot of basic like boiled potatoes, boiled carrots or green beans. That's Portugal with a nice piece of grilled fish like sardinhas or garopa or robalo. Those are all fish that you can easily find on any local restaurant. They're fresh and they are freaking delicious and doesn't have to have a lot of condiments and a lot of sauces. So yeah, that will be probably one of the things is the simplicity of the Portuguese cuisine. And that's good compared to the very elaborate and very deep fry aspect of the American cultural, or at least cuisine. That's where I will stand on that question.
How does the general mentality of people in the US compare to Portugal?
I would probably put my finger on the fact that here you have a more straightforward connection with people. What I mean by that is there's less, doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank, what's your education level. People are more on the same level as when they treat each other. I say that because the Portuguese have a very intense aspect of sir, ma'am. We do also here too, but it's different. It's just the level of how people that you don't know, that you talk to, they treat you a little bit more with respect. And this is not a criticism. This is just a different fact of Portuguese because of the way they were raised, the background, the history comes with more politeness, more respect, and more how you treat the other. Here, it's also that, but it's much more laid back, more simplified, and less social difference between how you talk to each other. In Portugal, if you're friends, that's not an issue. But if you're talking to someone that you never met before, you're probably going to have a little bit more of respect. Maybe not the right word. Let me see. Difference of they're still friendly, they're still open. The stress level, I don't know where to put my finger on that aspect, but if you go to a bank, for example, the clerk is going to treat you like, sir or ma'am, here you go to the bank, and they say, hi, good morning, how are you? How can I help you? So that's just different.
Do you feel like your identity has changed after living in the US for so long?
Change is inevitable. Doesn't matter where you are. You're going to change since you are just a few cells in your mom's womb until you're going to die. And that's change is entropy. It happens. It will continue on that path of change. So you have to change no matter what, and no matter where you are in the world. So yes, change, it's completely different. I changed my identity. Yes, I'm not the same person that I was a couple of years ago, or at least a lot of traits of my personality change. The way I see things, the way that I perceive by getting more knowledge, I change my mind on a lot of things. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I changed. The fact that for example, again, speaking of guns, I never hold or shoot a gun in Portugal my entire life. I moved to the United States. I was 35. Here is like you breed and you are with people who have that hobby, and it's completely different. So you don't have that. But then, of course, that comes with the other dark side. But it's same thing with any other thing. You have a good side and a bad side for everything. So just looking at the good side, it's a lot of fun. But that's a big change of realizing that the world doesn't revolve around just a few things. If you go outside right now, it's a beautiful, cold winter day around here with a lot of snow on the ground. And that's a completely different change from me being in Portugal, Lisbon, working when I was working at a radio or at a TV station and going outside maybe for a walk on the beach. So, yeah, there's a lot of change, and that's inevitable.
If Portugal had better job opportunities, do you think most expats would return?
Probably. But again, I need to bring back the elephant and the mouse. It's a tiny country. It's a small economy. Everything else that comes with that sentence comes with the fact that everything is going to be also small and not as not as big for opportunities. So people have to do their own decisions and make their own choices to move to other places if they want a better life. But still, I didn't move to the United States because of opportunities, because of career, because of anything like that. I moved to the United States because I follow my wife. She's from the United States. And for family reasons, I was I had to move with her to the United States for her peace of mind. So I was not intending to live Portugal. I was pretty happy, content with my career that I had in Portugal. And but life, as like the question before, life changed and things change. Change is inevitable. So here I am, 18 years later. But yeah, there's a big difference. And probably if there were more opportunities, probably people will go back. But you cannot compare an elephant to a mouse when it comes to the economy.
For someone thinking about moving to Portugal, what's the number one thing they should know?
The base of things? Don't be in a hurry. Well, you can drive, and people are always in a hurry. They look like it's a constant Formula One race. When people get into their cars, they think they are Verstappen against Alonso. No, they are just fast drivers, and they are very aggressive. So there's a lot of radars now everywhere. So people have to tame their speed. But speed is still a thing about if you go on a road. But regarding the question, the one thing is don't expect to be as fast if you need something. By that, I mean something if you have a problem with a plumbing system or air conditioning or something that you might require, unless it's like a life-threatening emergency, yes, you'll get some assistance. Otherwise, you're going to wait. And there's some more, like I said, there's some island time philosophy. It's a Portuguese time. So just don't expect things to be like really fast in the moment, Amazon Prime delivered by your door the next day or by 5 o'clock p.m. that day. No. Or some probably are able to do that. Some business are able to deliver that. But overall, no. You're going to have to find the patience and the will to just be more open to a different time schedule. But then that comes also with the fact that you can enjoy more time with your family and friends while you're waiting. So that's, choices. That's it.
Philip, thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's always eye-opening to hear from someone who has lived in both Portugal and the US. Now, for those of you watching, do you have more questions for Philip? He's open to coming back for a part 2, so if there's anything you'd like to ask, drop it in the comments. And if you're seriously thinking about making the move, don't forget to check out Safety Wing. It's the easiest way to stay covered while living abroad. The link is in the description. Muito obrigado. Ciao.